So the first one we're going to talk about is, when you talk about Mexico, a lot of people think of the Cancun, Riviera Maya area over on the eastern side, and then also Los Cabos at the tip of the peninsula there. And one destination I think that doesn't necessarily get as much love as it always should is the Western Pacific coast, the Puerto Vallarta area. Super easy to get to for us. We have nonstop flights on Delta and Sun Country right now. And for Mexico, there's currently no testing requirements or hoops to jump through. So some people view that as a bad thing. Some people view it as a good thing. We have had a lot of happy clients in Mexico the past few months. They've felt that the resorts are operating well, things are clean. Once you get off the airplane, it's really a breath of fresh air. So this is a real possibility for those of you that are interested in that more short-term travel. And what's kind of unique about the western coast of Mexico, you don't necessarily get the perfect white sand beaches and Caribbean waters that you do on the east side, but there's a little more to offer in terms of activities. So you do have mountains in this part of the country. So for example, you'll see zip lining there. If you want to kind of do some hiking, a little more outdoor adventure and pair that with beach, this is a great destination. Above that, obviously the water activities, snorkeling, diving, swimming are great, deep sea fishing. And there's some really unique beaches and caves that you see top left. That's kind of a famous one. So getting out on the water, doing some boat trips. And then bottom left, that's Sayulita. There's tons of tiny little charming towns dotted up and down the coast. And that's a little different than places like Cancun, where you just think of a buzzing metropolis of bars and shops. These are a little more boutique, a little more authentic, great for shopping, great for local restaurants. So just some kind of different combination of experiences than you find in other parts of Mexico. I want to touch on one resort quickly. This is the Gran Velas Riviera Maya, which really, really is the only 5-star all-inclusive hotel in my mind in Mexico. They win awards continuously for their kids programs, which is complimentary when you're staying there. So your kids are really engaged. It's not just plop them down in front of TVs. They've got nature-based programs, a lot of arts and crafts, a lot of local culture. The food is incredible. You see that on the bottom right. That is, that's not something I think of when I think all-inclusive resort. I have had some really incredible meals at this property. And then bottom left, just to sample the accommodations. Another reason this is great for families is you've got a lot of family suite setups. So you've got a room with 2 beds like you see here, connected to a living space, connected to a room with a king bed. So there's no kind of crossing your fingers, hoping you're getting those connecting rooms. Great configuration for families. And then I'm not going to go into each resort here, but the development of Punta Mita is about 45 minutes north of Puerto Vallarta. And this is a really great, secure, gated community, beautiful homes, beautiful resorts, beautiful beaches, really great if you're golfers. And there's 4 properties there that we work with, and we would love to talk to you and figure out which one might be the best for your family. Also located near the little town of Punta de Mita, which is worth a visit. And then over to the Caribbean a little more. We're going to talk about Turks and Caicos briefly. Turks and Caicos, we don't have any nonstop flights, but it is easy to get there through Atlanta and Delta. And then we've got plenty of other connections on United and American as well. So just a one-day trip for sure to get there. Their current restrictions are pretty easy to work with. They require a negative test result within 5 days of travel. So with our new testing programs in Minnesota, that's a pretty easy restriction to meet. And then they have a few insurance guidelines that we can walk you through as well, but very easily accessible to Americans right now and probably in the future as well. And Turks and Caicos is really for beach lovers. It's all about the water and beach activities and spa. So if you're someone that's looking for hiking and a lot of local culture and activities and museums, this is not for you. If you're someone that wants the most beautiful beach you could find and get out on the water, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, little local wildlife on some of the islands, snorkeling, sailing, this is perfect for you. And you'll see down in the bottom right, that is the spa at the Palms, which is one of our favorite partner properties there. It is massive, it's beautiful. I've been lucky enough to experience it myself. So definitely an ultimate destination for relaxation. And then these photos are all from Grace Bay Club. And Grace Bay Club is a great property for adults and families because the resort has different sections. So there is an adults only section of the resort. There is a kid-friendly, family-friendly section of the resort. They also have a large collection of private homes throughout the island. So if you are looking for your own space, we can definitely set that up and you would still be able to access the amenities of the resort if needed. Oops, going back here. And I just want to point out the bottom right, that's the Infinity Bar. It's the longest bar on the island. This whole resort has a really, really cool vibe at night. It's beautiful. So even if you're on the island and just want to go over for dinner, it's worth a visit. And just a great example of the properties there. They're all very spacious and they all have kitchens, which is nice. And so those are two kind of warm weather destinations we want to call out that are great options in the near future. And then I'm going to turn it over to Chris to chat a little bit about some cold weather destinations in winter.
Perfect. Good evening, everybody. So nice to kind of understand there are some places that you can escape from the cold here in the winter and get into some warmer weather. But it's also nice to embrace kind of the winters that we do have, and especially with some of the restrictions that we have for traveling, staying a little bit more closer to home. So one of those options, the first one that I wanted to kind of briefly mention here was Yellowstone. Again, very easy to get to, easy to self-drive out or even to fly into Bozeman straight from Minneapolis on Delta. The nice thing about Yellowstone in the winter, it allows you to explore it a little bit different than what you would in the summertime. And I'm sure a lot of the people on this call here today have been to Yellowstone and have kind of done the figure eights and have kind of hit the main sites. But what's nice about the wintertime aspect is that you don't get a lot of the same crowds. You don't get the big buses that are rolling through. You don't get a lot of the campers that are staying there, as well as the campsites being overrun. So that's first thing about why it's such a nice time to experience it, as well as see it in a different light. So seeing it with unique experiences, and seeing some of the lesser known areas that you might not have got to in the past, because again, a lot of people flock to try and get their pictures taken very quickly, or they don't have a lot of time because they're getting kind of harassed by other cars behind them. If you've been to Yellowstone, you'll understand that. So the environment changes significantly between the summer and the winter. You don't have the lush kind of the grasses or the flowering meadows, kind of what you'll experience kind of in the Lamar Valley area. But you do get frozen waterfalls. You do get a lot of the mineral pools that are still active and are melting the snow. So you get these brilliant, vibrant colors coming through, and then you have the ice and the snow around it. So it's a really unique environment to see that. Also in the winter, you get extremely clear skies. So for stargazing and for nighttime photography and being able to get an image with some of the geyser steam, as well as some of the clear skies as well. It's very good for photography, as well as winter sunrises. There's some beautiful, beautiful shots you can take, as well as just experiencing it. You don't have to be a photographer. You may just want to kind of sit back and wake up early in the morning, have a nice cup of coffee, and just kind of experience nature quieter than usual with kind of a nice cup of coffee there. The other thing about the winter aspect is the wildlife. So wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone, I think maybe 25 years ago, and they're kind of, the numbers are increasing. Again, when you have the densities of people traveling in the summertime, it is hard to see them. And they're a little bit more skittish. So going in the winter, you do have a higher chance of seeing some of those wolf populations, especially in the Lamar area, Lamar Valley area. Bison and elk migrate in the winter. So again, you do have a greater chance of seeing denser populations of these animals. And again, because in the snow, some of the foliage has fallen, you can see them clearer, or you can see their colors against a white backdrop a lot clearer. So again, your chances of seeing the wildlife viewing is heightened. And again, on these images here, you can see some red foxes, you can see some of the martens up in the tree, or the bighorn sheep. So there's a lot of different species that you'll be able to see in a different circumstance. So generally in the winter, accommodations are a little bit more kind of rigid. If you're wanting to stay in the park, generally there's only one option, and that's kind of the Old Faithful Snow Lodge. If you've been there before, you'll understand where that is, right in the heart, right next to Old Faithful. It is kind of just a bigger hotel, but again, right on the outskirts of Yellowstone, there are a lot of beautiful properties, luxury properties, boutique properties, villa style. So if you are traveling with a bigger family, you can use those. Or kind of side note into this next topic, if you're wanting that same nature feel in the winter, there are a lot of experiences that are along that ranch style, like Paws Up. And Paws Up is about 2.5 hours north of kind of the Yellowstone area. So it is doable if you're wanting to kind of combine them, but most people would come to Paws Up as a standalone. What's nice, and why I would like to talk about this one tonight, is it's great for socially distancing. The nice thing about Paws Up is that there is no main lobby area or main lodge area. There are no room numbers for the accommodations. There are 28 different living kind of rooms, houses, apartments, cabins. In the summer, they have a lot more. They have more tented areas, but in the winter, you feel like you're the only ones there. All the meals are included. It is an inclusive property that way. Activities, they still run a lot of the activities year round. Like you can see, you can do fat tire biking, you can do hiking, snowshoeing, curling, which is one of our favorites here at Peak, especially down at the Chaska curling rink, horseback riding, great food. They have lots of different options for the meals. So when you're inclusive meals, they have 2 or 3 different restaurants there, as well as they have some of the outdoor cooking that you can do. So it really is a really nice option, especially for if you're looking for something over the next couple of months that you don't want to travel too far away from home, but at the same time, you want to socially distance and you don't want to be around the crowds, and you're looking for something a little bit different. This is a great option that still is available. And as you can see from the pictures, a lot of the accommodations are very comfortable. So it's a nice place to go. Some of the kids might still be able to do their schoolwork from there. You can work remotely. That's kind of one of the nice things about the time that we're living in right now, is that we have a lot more flexibility, and places like this are catering towards that. So that's a great option for that close to home, Yellowstone, self-drive, or staying at a ranch property similar to Paws Up.